Objection handling is important in tech sales because it allows sales reps to address and overcome the concerns, hesitations, or objections that prospects may have about their product or service. These objections can range from pricing and competition to technical capabilities and implementation timelines. By effectively handling objections, sales reps can build trust with their prospects, demonstrate their expertise, and ultimately close more deals. Additionally, objection handling allows sales reps to better understand the needs and pain points of prospects, which can help inform product development and marketing strategies. Now it's time to brace for resistance. Here are the 3 steps to overcome common customer objections that you'll encounter when you're reaching out to customers. Proactively discovering the top objections that you will come across in a customer conversation and preparing responses on how you will handle these objections is critically important if you're going to be successful in sales. Objections are forms of resistance that customers have towards exploring your solution further and ultimately come in the form of excuses to get off the phone and not take a meeting with you. It's not common to come across customers who immediately tell you, "Wow, Jay, I was waiting for your call, and this is exactly what I needed." Doesn't happen a lot. What is common is for customers to say things like, "I already have a solution in place," or "We're all set," or "Just send me info and I'll get back to you." Or maybe you're too expensive. When making cold calls, you need to be able to push past the resistance and handle multiple objections, even up to 3 objections, to try to set the meeting. Step number 1 when handling an objection is to take time to fully understand the objection and what's behind it. It's important to note that an objection is not a rejection, but a request for more information. You need to do the detective work to figure out if the objection is rooted in a gap in understanding or a misconception about what you do, or if it is based on a legitimate reason. That's for you to find out. In order to get the customer to open up and share more, employ a Jedi mind trick from top hostage negotiator and author of Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss. It's called the mirror technique. And when the customer says their objection, you can hold the silence and let the constructive tension work its magic. Mirroring is a simple tactic and it works. For example, the customer might say, "I already have a solution in place." And you as the salesperson could respond, "You already have a solution in place?" and pause. The customer, breaking the tension created by the silence, might respond, "Well, we have a solution we bought just 3 months ago and it's not perfect, but you get the point." Once you get the info you need, you can handle the objection and respond appropriately. There are 4 fundamental sources of the most common objections that you'll come across. The first one is lack of need. The customer is all set or doesn't have a need at this time. There are some times where you can't help a prospect, but oftentimes, if you look at your ideal customer profile and they don't see the value in your offer and you're not resonating and you're not exploring all possible needs, you might not be addressing the right need. A second source of many objections is lack of urgency. The customer has a lot on their plate and is waiting for the right time. This is very legitimate. Most IT departments have lofty initiatives and not enough manpower to get things done. Another reason to be extremely value-added and simple to work with. The more work you can take off your IT champion's plate, the more likely they'll like you, I promise. A third common source of many objections is lack of trust. Trust is predicated on whether the buyer actually believes that you can do what you claim you can do. The key here is not to come off salesy. Listen more than you talk and build that trust. A fourth source of many common objections is lack of money. This is actually the most common type of objection. The customer claims to not have the funds to afford your solution. The key is to figure out whether it's true or not. In some cases, it is, which is good to know so you can disqualify and move on. Other times, you can get creative and show how the cost savings of your solution will actually save the money. My field rep was running a deal where the customer consistently stated they didn't have any money until the next year budget, which was 9 months away. But they needed new data center infrastructure because their core applications were dealing with major latency, about 4 hours a day on their CAD application to be specific. Because my field rep had built trust with the IT manager and was trying to help him align with what the CFO would need to approve the initiative, the IT manager helped my field rep put together a TCO or ROI, total cost of ownership and return on investment, to present to the CFO. We figured out that they had 4 engineers that made $80,000 annually, who are working inside that application daily. We broke their annual salaries down into hourly wages and presented the case to the CFO that if he didn't upgrade the infrastructure, he'd be losing out on hours of productivity from some of his most important workers, and the cost of them not being able to work for 4 hours a day was going to be more expensive than buying the new technology, and it would also speed up their applications again to allow the engineers to work for 8 full hours. Within a few days of making that presentation, we received a purchase order for all the new infrastructure needed. After identifying an objection, the second thing you need to do is deal with the issue thoroughly enough and to the satisfaction of the prospect. Acknowledge the objection and don't step over it or dismiss it to the customer. It's a big deal, and make sure you let them know that you get that and that their objection is valid. Even say, I've heard that before from other customers. Thirdly, present a compelling enough argument to overcome the objection. If they tell you, we're all set, you could say, you're not the first customer to mention that. But what I typically find when talking further with customers with similar concerns or who say they're all set is that they didn't realize that what we were offering doesn't replace their current solution, but actually augments their current solution and adds additional value in XYZ area, which the current solution doesn't address. When met with an objection that has to do with lack of need, respond by focusing on outcomes and results, because people buy outcomes versus processes or how. Educate yourself about the prospect's business, industry, and competitors so you have a better idea of where you can add value. Objections that are due to lack of urgency are very, very common. And so your solution needs to make it clear why it is urgent. You can show the impact in a few different areas. You can show a rational impact, which is all about building the business case and return on investment of moving forward, and it needs to have a clear dollar value. Otherwise, no ROI means no urgency. You also need to show the emotional impact. The emotional impact on people is just as important as numbers because people buy emotionally. Focus on the things the buyer wants to change and their pains and rewards they are after. An example of emotional impact could be brand continuity. For example, some of the largest medical systems in the United States partner with us to help prevent their patient data from being breached in a ransomware attack. If they were to lose this data, it would drastically affect their reputation as a leader in the medical space. A lot of times during these calls, I ask around the business impact if data was to be breached. We ask around their job responsibilities and if this would ultimately fall on them if a ransomware attack was to happen. The emotional impact of losing trust with the public or losing your job can be factors that propel a person to make moves and upgrade their technology stack to put them in a future state and help them see the benefit of moving forward rather than staying with the status quo. For any objections due to lack of trust, you can build trust by researching the company and their industry and showing that you are very knowledgeable about their domains, which will give you confidence and them confidence in you and your company. I know a guy who's now the CEO of one of Dell's largest technology resellers, and he was so trusted as an account executive, he was invited to sit in on board meetings for one of his largest clients. Imagine that, being that trusted of an advisor to your customers. This isn't easy, but it shows you what is possible when you curate the right characteristics of a modern salesman. Adding immense value takes legwork. Smile and have a positive attitude. Ask genuine questions about their business and advocate for your solution by sharing stories of similar customers that focus on outcomes and results, which will bring quite a bit of credibility to you. And finally, for any objections due to lack of money, know this is very common and you can overcome it by listening fully and confirming if money is the issue. Price objections can mask non-money issues below the surface. Try and uncover the real objection by asking if money were no object, what would be your ideal solution? If you can work towards a common vision, it will be easier to work out budget issues down the road. Don't go down the rabbit hole of talking about the details of cost structure because the customer will then focus more on complaining about the price than about the value you are bringing. If you can lead with value and vision, money can follow. With money, reduce the scope of your solution to see if you can whittle that down and only give them what they need at the price point that works for them, or confirm that they don't want to reduce the scope of your full solution and give them the whole solution. So how can you get good at handling objections? Of course, talk to reps who have been out in the field to get feedback on the most common objections they have and write them down and practice them. Having a list of objections on your company and on each product specifically will significantly prepare you to crush it when you get into a closing role. Another benefit of that method is everyone has their unique message and talk tracks, and this can help you steal bits and pieces to develop your own. Ask account executives, managers, directors for their best responses, and take notes as you make calls. Write them down and internally ask a trusted person how they would handle them. Practice your responses and consider doing so through a role play where you act out a hypothetical situation with a peer. As always, get feedback on how you came across so you can improve. When I started in sales, I had 8 to 10 business development managers whose calendars were solely dedicated to my mock calls, hot seats, verbals, and many other development exercises. You need to find people within your organization to sync up with, even if you don't have dedicated managers who do this, and create your own development plan with your colleagues. And you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help.